Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. This is absolutely huge. I will explain in about 50 seconds exactly why Trump will never have financial troubles, even if the appeal doesn't go through in New York, which of course the appeal will go through regarding the $300 to $400 million trial sum of money that he's supposed to owe, which will be overturned on appeal anyway. But anyone telling you that Trump has major financial worries or concerns is likely an absolute fool. Reuters, and hit subscribe to this channel. In a couple of seconds, you will hear from former President Donald Trump. You will also hear from his attorney. You will hear from experts on the merger that the SEC has allowed to take place. Hit subscribe right now. I'm going to explain in about 30 to 40 seconds before the hour of listening to Donald Trump and others talk about this deal. I'm going to explain in about 30 seconds for you why this is absolutely huge for Trump and why they cannot ever touch this man. The SEC just cleared a deal, approved a deal, a merger between Trump Media and another corporation to merge, making Truth Social public. Trump owns something like 79 million shares. It's valued, it could be worth as much as $10 billion for Donald Trump. Do you think he cares about $350 or $400 million that will eventually be overturned on appeal anyway? So when New York attorneys or the district attorney says, well, we're going to confiscate your real estate, that's a drop in the bucket. It's not going to even matter. This is Reuters. I'm not making anything up. You have to be a complete buffoon to think that you are going to bankrupt Trump with politically motivated, completely unfair and partisan prosecutions. Nobody in the history of New York was ever indicted or convicted for what they went after Trump for allegedly doing. The banks themselves made money and also testified that they didn't have to rely on Trump's valuations and that Trump did nothing wrong. And it's obviously a politically motivated and purely partisan attempt at bankrupting him so he can't pay his legal fees. Well, that's out the window now. The SEC just the other day cleared a huge merger that had a bunch of obstacles up until recently. So the Securities and Exchange Commission is allowing Truth Social to become public through this merger, and that could lead to $10 billion in wealth for Trump. Billions upon billions. If the rebuttal is, well, it's not $10 billion all for Trump, he'll make billions upon billions of dollars. So hit subscribe to this channel right now, ladies and gentlemen. Anyone, you're going to hear from Donald Trump right now, but anyone who says that Trump is going bankrupt is likely a complete imbecile who knows nothing about politics or business. The one thing you don't do is try to go after Trump in terms of his pocketbook because he can make money. The man has been a billionaire for decades. He knows how to make money. The shoes are pretty awesome. So, I mean, it's like everything he touches. One thing that Democrats have tried desperately to do is to say that he doesn't know how to make money, which is also similar to them saying that he's an operative of another country. All of these lies told about Trump, Trump is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of politics. They fine him $350+ million. He makes $10 billion after the SEC allows a merger to go through. So you can't touch this man. I mean, like, this is Reuters. I'm not making it up. You'd have to be stupid not to understand what's going on. He's going to win the presidency, ladies and gentlemen. And the valuation of that, there's no investment advice here because I think that the stock market is going to crash. I also think that Hillary Clinton will replace Biden. I've told people the market's going to crash and that Clinton will replace Biden for years now. So I am not investing in any stocks or SPACs or any mergers or anything. And I'm not giving any investment advice. None of the experts here that you're going to hear should be, viewed. None of the videos that you see or the experts that you hear should be viewed as any investment advice. So I'm not giving investment advice. I am saying, though, that naturally, when he defeats, whoever they decide to replace Biden, the Truth Social merger will likely go up in value. That doesn't mean I want anyone to invest. I'm just saying. So it could be worth more than $10 billion eventually, especially when he's in the Oval Office and he only uses that platform and not X or Twitter. Hit subscribe to this channel. Share this everywhere. To my super chat, Paul Bartlett, thank you so very much. Paul Bartlett, thank you, as always, in Australia. To my viewers in Australia and around the world, in the Philippines, the UK, Canada, Nepal, everywhere, in Sweden, thank you so very much for watching. Let's get to Trump, talk about why he started Truth Social to begin with.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple, just like dominoes, one by one. They'll go down. That's why today I'm announcing my plan to shatter the left-wing censorship regime and to reclaim the right to free speech for all Americans. And reclaim is a very important word in this case because they've taken it away. In recent weeks, bombshell reports have confirmed that a sinister group of deep state bureaucrats, Silicon Valley tyrants, left-wing activists, and depraved corporate news media have been conspiring to manipulate and silence the American people. They have collaborated to suppress vital information on everything from elections to public health. The censorship cartel must be dismantled and destroyed, and it must happen immediately. And here's my plan. First, within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person to censor, limit, categorize, or impede the lawful speech of American citizens. I will then ban federal money from being used to label domestic speech as mis- or disinformation. And I will begin the process of identifying and firing every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship, directly or indirectly, whether they are the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health, Human Services, the FBI, the DOJ, no matter who they are. Second, I will order the Department of Justice to investigate all parties involved in the new online censorship regime, which is absolutely destructive and terrible, and to aggressively prosecute any and all crimes identified. These include possible violations of federal civil rights law, campaign finance laws, federal election law, securities law, and antitrust laws, the Hatch Act, and a host of other potential criminal, civil, regulatory, and constitutional offenses. To assist in these efforts, I am urging House Republicans to immediately send preservation letters, and we have to do this right now, to the Biden administration, the Biden campaign, and every Silicon Valley tech giant, ordering them not to destroy evidence of censorship. Third, upon my inauguration as president, I will ask Congress to send a bill to my desk revising Section 2.
All right, so we'll continue with President Trump in a moment, but I wanted to give you some background here. So, what prosecutors in New York and other places are trying to do, okay? The reason that they went after Trump under a fraud statute with 0 victims is that they want to bankrupt him. This has nothing to do with the rule of law. It has nothing to do with the citizens of New York or of this country. It's a very sinister way of trying to silence and trying to derail his campaign. Trump was, ladies and gentlemen, impeached on a phone call, okay? A phone call. They have indicted this man under 91 criminal charges, And they've tried to bankrupt him in the city where he made his initial billions. Okay, he has billions of dollars in property in New York. So this has nothing to do with him committing fraud, because there wasn't a bank that actually sued him. This is the first time in the history of the country that somebody like Trump was convicted of a crime where there were no victims, and where where the banks and the lenders who would have been suing him actually stated they made money from working with him. The political angle, or the objective, is to bankrupt Trump, to say that he is a failure in business, to make sure that he can't pay his legal bills, because that's the only way they can stop him. But as you can see from this Reuters article, SEC clears Trump's social media deal worth as much as $10 billion. Now, there was also a Forbes article a couple years back talking about the same thing. Trump's SPAC could rocket to a $10 billion plus valuation with no revenue. Okay? So, the company's not making money, but Twitter wasn't making money either. Again, I think that there's going to be, I love Trump, and I'm voting for Trump, but I wouldn't invest in anything in the market, including this. I think the market's going to tank and it's going to crash. That being said, when he becomes president, because there's nothing that's going to stop Trump this year. Okay, he is up in the polls already, and he only has the entire American political establishment, media, comedians, late night, Saturday Night Live, everything against him. Okay, but Democrats don't have the hundreds of millions of dollars from the 44 plus million from Sam Bankman-Fried and from FTX. Democrats don't have a good economy. Biden has a terrible foreign policy. You see a catastrophe after catastrophe. The border is an abomination. And Trump is up in Michigan. He's up in Pennsylvania. So, I mean, it's likely going to be a landslide. Democrats tried to take over after Trump, and they've done a miserably failed job. That's why Trump is up in the polls, and that's why he'll come back and regain the presidency. But you have to also, kind of, if you're looking at this merger, how much do you think it's going to be worth when Trump becomes president and only uses this media platform? It's pretty good. Okay, that's a pretty good thing. So hit subscribe if you're new to this channel. The attempt at trying to bankrupt him failed miserably. The attempt at trying to make him into an operative of another country failed miserably. Democrats continually just fail in every effort to destroy Trump. Trump is the Obi-Wan Kenobi of politics. The man cannot be stopped. So it's pretty unbelievable. The big thing that, you had people, the Schadenfreude was so hilarious. Oh, he's going to go bankrupt. Oh, they're going to seize his buildings. He's going to make about $10 billion in this deal. So how stupid. Imagine you've spent your entire life trying to bankrupt Trump, and then he sells sneakers and then makes $10 billion on a Truth Social merger. How stupid must a person feel if they spent their entire lives or a life trying to ruin Trump only to see him become even more wealthy of a billionaire? Let's continue with former President Trump. Then we'll get to some really, really interesting experts on this topic.
This university is discovered to have engaged in censorship activities or election interferences in the past, such as flagging social media content for removal of blacklisting, those universities should lose federal research dollars and federal student loan support for a period of 5 years and maybe more. We should also enact new laws laying out clear criminal penalties for federal bureaucrats who partner with private entities to do an end run around the Constitution and deprive Americans of their First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights. In other words, deprive them of their vote. And once you lose those elections, and once you lose your borders like we have, you no longer have a country. Furthermore, to confront the problems of major platforms being infiltrated by legions of former deep staters and intelligence officials. There should be a 7-year cooling off period before any employee of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DNI, DHS, or DOD is allowed to take a job at a company possessing vast quantities of U.S. user data. Fifth, the time has finally come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights. This should include a right to digital due process. In other words, government officials should need a court order to take down online content, not send information requests such as the FBI was sending to Twitter. Furthermore, when users of big online platforms have their content or accounts removed, throttled, shadow banned, or otherwise restricted, no matter what name they use, they should have the right to be informed that it's happening, the right to a specific explanation of the reason why, and the right to a timely appeal. In addition, all users over the age of 18 should have the right to opt out of content moderation and curation entirely and receive an unmanipulated stream of information if they so choose. The fight for free speech is a matter of victory or death for America and for the survival of Western civilization itself. When I am president, this whole rotten system of censorship and information control will be ripped out of the system at large.
So, ladies and gentlemen, yet again, another failed effort to bankrupt Trump, okay? Again, this is about hurting him financially. This has nothing, when Democrats talk about the rule of law, as they try to bankrupt and imprison Trump, they're going after their direct political rival, okay? You're going to hear in a couple of minutes some really wonderful experts on the topic. But here you have a situation where the past couple of weeks, it was all about Trump losing the fraud trial, him getting fined $350 plus million, Trump not being able to do business in New York for 3 years, and a bunch of other penalties. Okay, this made liberal Democrats so happy. They were so overjoyed with this perceived retribution, even though nobody in the history of New York has ever been convicted of this crime. And Trump did not commit fraud. He literally didn't do anything. And then Kevin O'Leary and others are saying that they would never invest in New York now, and that on appeal, he's not gonna have to pay a cent. It's gonna be overturned anyway on appeal. So you'll have the $350 million overturned on appeal, and he's still gonna make billions, as much as $10 billion on the merger between Trump Media and Truth Social. So the question now is, what more can Democrats do to try to ruin Trump and have it completely backfire? Because nothing they're doing is working. He's up in the polls. He's been indicted. His poll numbers go up. He's fined $350 million. He then makes a $10 billion deal with the SEC allowing a merger. So can he ever be touched by Democrats? It's unbelievable. There's not a person on this planet who is able to withstand such an onslaught by media and intelligence officials and state prosecutors. The reality is that he is being bullied. The reality is that they are going after him with selective prosecution to try to take out their direct political rival right before a presidential contest. These are the despots and authoritarians and totalitarians. The people who complain about Trump being a despot are actually the most despotic themselves. But they do so in this sinister, this very surreptitious manner. They try to hide behind these state prosecutors. So on the surface, they're just using existing laws. But then when it comes to the border, when it comes to Democrats, when it comes to other issues, they selectively ignore those laws or refuse to prosecute. So there you go. I don't have, really quickly, I don't have Twitter. I don't have Facebook. I don't have Truth Social. I actually don't think any message board based platform is going to be a good idea going into this year because so many unintended consequences could take place from these types of platforms. I've had threats on my life from Twitter, by the way. So I don't have Twitter. I don't have Facebook. I have H.A. Goodman, which is growing. Hit subscribe. I have, we're going to hit 300,000 subs before November, hopefully. I have the stock market crash channel and I have the Bitcoin crash channel. So those three, but I don't have any message board based platforms. Trish Regan is fantastic and she's awesome. She was on Fox News for a long time. Subscribe to her YouTube channel. She deserves 1 million subs. Let's listen to her take on this because she's wonderful. And she has a very, very interesting take on this topic. Definitely subscribe to her channel. It's Trish Regan on YouTube. So subscribe to her channel, and she has a wonderful, wonderful take on the merger.
Actually, a really good credit risk right now, thanks to none other than this deal, which just got approved by the SEC. So I don't know how many of you are on Truth Social. I'm over there. In fact, we put out a notice that we were going to be right here, right now, over on Truth Social at Trish Regan. So Truth Social was designed to be kind of a conservative competitor to Twitter. And then, of course, Elon Musk came along and he bought Twitter for some, $44 billion, pretty high valuation. And he's dealing with the ups and downs of all of that. And Truth Social has sort of just been still there. And Donald Trump puts out various truths on it, etc. Now, part of the reason perhaps you're seeing the success and in the stock price right now, I mean, it just soared the other day with this news. It's just been going up and away. And the reason for that is because there was some hesitation about whether or not it could do this merger with this SPAC. I can get into this. I know a lot about this. SPAC is like a dirty word on Wall Street, right? Because people worry about it. There have been great SPACs. I mean, Burger King was taken public via a SPAC. They're trying to take Donald Trump's media company, which owns Truth Social, public so that you can invest in it, everybody can invest in it via a SPAC. The SPAC is basically the combination of this company, DWAC, Digital World Acquisition Corporation, and Trump Media. So at first, like the SEC is like, no, you can't do this deal. And then on Friday it came out, oh, you can. So now the merger's going through. It's happening in March. And so Trump has all these shares at $10 each. Okay, so let's just check the stock price right now. I think it's off from some of the highs that we saw on Friday, but it's incredible because DWAC, this one, Digital World Acquisition Corporation, it's down today, 44.
So definitely subscribe to Trish Regan on YouTube. She's fantastic. She was amazing on Fox. Fox should have kept her, but she'll probably make a great deal more money on YouTube. She deserves 1 million subs. So it's Trish Regan on YouTube. She's absolutely fantastic. Definitely subscribe to her channel. But she explains it very clearly. And there were some regulatory hurdles. And of course, you have left-leaning pundits who are so happy. Oh, it's not going to work out. And then suddenly the SEC said, yeah, you know what? We'll let the deal work out. I mean, if the SEC allowed a Bitcoin ETF, they're definitely going to allow this. Okay. I think Bitcoin's going to crash. I think the market's going to crash. I'm not saying that I would ever invest in this. I am saying, though, that likely, no matter what happens, when he becomes president, it'll be a very good thing for this stock. Excuse me. So, you have literally a future president. You had a former president and a president after 2024. investing in a media company that he's going to be utilizing likely almost exclusively. So, excuse me. So, $10 billion, ladies and gentlemen. $10 billion. And let's listen to Alina Habba really quickly, Trump's lawyer, about the unfair prosecution. And now with the $10 billion, it ain't going to matter.
Good evening. So let's talk about one thing that the press hasn't reported. We just listened to testimony from a man who has such distinct recognitions as an accounting expert that even Letitia James's team and the OAG's team used him themselves as an accounting expert. Professor Bartov was the New York Attorney General's expert in the Exxon case. Let's start there. But today, when he was on the other side, they spent the entire day objecting because he was giving testimony that didn't suit their claims. His testimony included that there was absolutely, and I quote, no fraud, that the statement of financial condition for President Trump was understated, that there was no evidence of concealment, and that, in fact, President Trump's statements of financial condition had something that most other statements of financial condition don't have. 18 pages of descriptions and details about his properties, about his trophy assets, things that most people don't need to do and wouldn't do. The reason, because he had nothing to hide and he didn't conceal anything. This is not a publicly traded company. This is a private company. And the Attorney General is now sticking her nose into private companies. This is a very scary moment for our country. We have to have boundaries. We have to have laws. They were objecting every 5 minutes, and I really give credit today to the press that was in there. I did look at some of the feed, and it was accurate. There was absolutely no fraud. The statements were undervalued, and President Trump and the Trump Organization provided Deutsche Bank with everything they needed. Last week, we heard banks make clear that they thought they were a trophy client. They were the big whale that they wanted to get, and they valued their relationship. They said that holds true today. I don't know why we're here. I've said it before, and I say it again. Again, this case has absolutely no merit, and you don't have to believe me. A man that gives the Nobel Executive Committee recommendations on accounting and who should be recognized in accounting, that man that just sat in there for the entire day, made it very clear and had words with the AG and said, "This, you should be ashamed of yourself." And I say it too. You should be ashamed of yourself. Thank you. I'm not going to speak about privileged information. At this time, the president is looking forward to taking the stand and once again making clear that he cooperated, he performed on his loans, they were paid ahead of schedule in some instances, always on time, and he was never in default. But somehow Ms. James needs to fulfill her political promise, so we're here, and he'll be addressing all of that on Monday. Don't forget, though, he's going on Monday with the judge's gag order still in place, so he can't speak about certain things. He has to be so careful. That is so unconstitutional, in my opinion. We have First Amendment rights. We have rights as attorneys, Sixth Amendment rights, and those are all being violated. And he still wants to take the stand, even though my advice is, at this point, you should never take the stand with a gag order. But he is so firmly against what is happening in this court and so firmly for the old America that we know, not this America, that he will take that stand on Monday.
What can we expect on Monday?
The same as we've heard. The same as we've heard from experts. He will clarify it. He will open himself up to whatever they want because he's not afraid. People that are afraid cower. President Trump doesn't cower. We'll be back on Monday with that, and tomorrow we'll hear more testimony from this incredibly intelligent man.
What was your client's reaction to the testimony today?
I think he made it clear. It's more frustration that we have wasted time, that they are doing election interference. This is a tactic that we've seen time and time again. This is not the first or last of it, and we're going to have to deal with it in all the other trials. But I really hope this is a lesson to those other AGs and DAs out there trying to make a name for themselves off of President Trump's back. If you're going to do it with garbage claims, it's going to come out because there are experts willing to put their heads out, willing to put their necks out, and willing to say that this is garbage. And we heard that today, the entire day, and we will hear that well into tomorrow. I don't speak about politics. I'm a lawyer.
But no, with all the cases that are stacked against him,
Yeah.
does he still feel confident about Monday, the outcome of this case and everything that's...
The outcome of this case was determined before we walked into court. Let's be clear. We're not walking into this court every day expecting that this judge is going to let us off. We already see what's happened in this court. This judge made his determination on summary judgment before we even walked in, before an expert took the stand. So let's not get it twisted. I'm not here fighting for that. I'm here fighting for America with him so that we can stop this. You know, that's the truth of it. And it's a very sad state of affairs. Today and many days we've asked for a directed verdict because there is no case.
So they tried to bankrupt Trump. That's what this is all about, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? They tried to bankrupt Trump. It didn't work. They tried to say that he was an operative of the Kremlin with the Mueller probe. That didn't work. They tried to imprison him in Florida, in Georgia, in D.C., and in New York. Nothing is working. The Georgia case has been completely dismantled. And the prosecutors there have had their alleged affair and possible state or federal funds misuse, possibly, allegedly, out in the open now. Okay? That is for everyone to see. Again, none of these things, like nobody would know the personal lives of prosecutors if they weren't trying to imprison Trump. Okay, the same thing happened at the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Justice. You have people that devote their lives to going after Trump, and then the skeletons of their closet come out. So it's like Trump is he's literally the Obi-Wan Kenobi of politics. You cannot touch this man. They've tried to destroy and ruin. They've tried to destroy and ruin Donald Trump. And yet he's up above mashed potato brains, our president. And they made a big deal, and they were, the Schadenfreude was so hilarious. They were so happy that he was fined. They were so happy that his properties would be removed, but none of that's going to take place because it's going to be all overturned on appeal anyway. And then they say, well, the Trump tried to make it appeal proof. The judge, sorry. And Kevin O'Leary talked about this. Kevin O'Leary talked about how unfair this all was and how ridiculous it all was and how it would how New York and other states would lose business. Exactly, the Trump Kenobi. Obi-Wan Trump. Thank you, everybody, to my viewers. Thank you. Hit subscribe if you're new to this channel. We're at almost 214,000 subscribers. You might be the 214,000 subscriber. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 220 and then beyond. Let's go ahead and hold on one second. Where is that? Okay, so
Listen.
This is Donald Trump Jr. talking about the fraud trial. This is, I believe, after his testimony. And by the way, the reason I'm showing you these, statements by Trump's lawyer and Donald Trump Jr. Is that New York prosecutors failed in bankrupting Trump. We know this because of the $10 billion merger that was allowed to go through the other day. So it's almost hilarious. Like they almost had Trump. Oh my God, they were so happy. Their life's work was almost complete in trying to destroy Trump. And then at the end, at the last second, he makes $10 billion on a deal. Pretty hilarious. When you think about how desperate they are to ruin him and that they have egg on their face, or their skeletons are now, out in the open for everyone to see. So those prosecutors in Georgia, nobody would know anything about their personal lives if they didn't try to imprison Trump. And you have the Florida case, the D.C. cases, where you have the Supreme Court coming up with a 9-0 decision. So not only does he make $10 billion on a deal, but the Supreme Court will have a unanimous decision overturning a stupid and unconstitutional ban because Colorado justices believed, they felt he committed a rebellion. It don't matter what you feel. You have to be convicted of something like that. And Trump, of course, was not. He never engaged in a rebellion. The Federal Bureau of Investigation found no evidence he did. And you'd have to be a complete imbecile to think that he tried to overthrow the country. Every day that summer, unfortunately, we had chaos and mayhem. Democrats didn't care. So, hit subscribe if you're new to this channel. Let's listen to Trump Jr.
I sort of a boring cross exam. I thought they were going to go somewhere, but I think they understand that they have nothing as it relates to a case other than, I guess, an overzealous attorney general who would destroy all of New York business by going after transactions where there are no victims, I guess, other than herself. But you guys got to think about the precedent that this case sets. If an attorney general can years later, after all parties of transactions are paid back in full, with interest, making hundreds of millions of dollars, where they have no complaint, where they said they wouldn't have done anything differently, where every witness, as it relates to my brother and I, every witness that the Attorney General has called have said that my brother and I were not involved in the statement of financial condition. That even includes their star witness, the perjurer-in-chief, Michael Cohen, who's perjured himself probably more times than any human being I can think of. Even he said, perhaps the one time he was actually telling the truth in all of this, that my brother and I had nothing to do with it, but it doesn't matter because it's a witch hunt. It always has been. But the precedent that it sets for New York business, if you don't perhaps donate to Letitia James' re-election campaign, I too will go after your billion-dollar transactions. It's ripe for extortion and corruption, but, that's what you get from the Democrat Party in New York these days, it seems. So it's a scary precedent. I don't know how anyone could do business in this city with that. Anyone you speak to who's actually in banking, who's actually in real estate, understands that. But again, they don't want to put themselves in the crosshairs, so perhaps they'll be silent. So it's a disgrace that this is happening right now, but I think we'll make our points, we'll make our case, and we'll go on from there. So you guys have a great day. Thank you. No, listen, I got to find out about my aunt passing away, literally. Not really what I want to talk about, but no, I got to, literally about, as I pulled up here this morning, I found out, my aunt passed away. Not a great swing thought, in the back of your head as you're going to deal with this sort of insanity. I'm very close with her grandson. We hang out all the time, and so it's obviously a rough day for that, but unfortunately it is what it is. This is what it's become, right? Every day there's going to be another nonsense, another lawsuit. They're going to keep trying. And reality, facts, that doesn't matter because that's where we've gotten in a politicized country. So it's a shame, and we'll deal with that accordingly. I think I'm done. Actually, I don't. They had the opportunity to cross-examine me, a rather mean-spirited attempt to try to do something, but they didn't get into any details in the cross because they've been able to play this out in the press. Donald Trump Jr. doesn't know anything about the finances of the company, according to. No, they asked me specifically about the statement of financial condition, one document of billions, and like I said, every witness that they have said has, under oath, said that Eric, myself, we had nothing to do with the document. No, nothing. Even Cohen, like I said. But that is the basis for why we are apparently already guilty of fraud, having never even heard from us at that point before ever hearing from these witnesses. So that's why, it's a little bit ridiculous, right? You can't even make your case before, oh, wait, this is it. Well, the document that you're relying on this, I'm not supposed to rely on a big five accounting firm, like one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. I can pay them millions of dollars. I rely on them to do accounting, but I'm supposed to know more than them. By this logic, insurance companies are going to start suing patients for listening to their doctors. Right? Do you understand? Like, am I supposed to know more? Oh, Don Jr. doesn't know anything about it. I'm not an accountant. I'm a business guy. I went through each and every one of our deals. Had they asked me those questions, I could have very easily answered them. But I can't answer questions about a document that literally everyone acknowledges I had nothing to do with. I rely on the accountants to do that.
Don, it seemed like you had a pretty good rapport with Judge Moore. The defense has been pretty hard on him. What's your view?
It was, perhaps there's a New York personality there, but no, I think he understood. I can't help myself even in a very serious situation. If you take yourself too seriously, the world sort of sucks. You got to have a little bit of fun with it. So I did. We had some, quips in the courtroom. The first time I was here, sort of gave me a fist bump on the way out. I guess I had a rather snappy response to something that was, I can't even remember what it was right now. And he said, that was really funny. And sort of, so,
Do you share your dad's views about how...
Listen, I'm not going to, I don't even know how far the gag order applies. So, I don't need to do that and put myself, I'm in enough crosshairs, guys. But again, this is about the Attorney General going after and prosecuting their political enemies. And if you don't believe that, just listen to what she said before she was ever Attorney General, right? We're going to go after Trump. We're going to go. We're in New York. It's bullshit, okay, is what it is.
So, ladies and gentlemen, imagine if the tables were turned, okay? Imagine if the tables were turned. Imagine if you had a district attorney in, Little Rock, Arkansas, or, someplace, imagine if you had a district attorney in a conservative city in a red state, okay? A city run by Republicans, in a state run by Republicans, and a district attorney that ran on indicting Hunter or Joe or Hillary, or the number one thing media would say is Trump is a despot, he's a totalitarian, he's an authoritarian, he's doing what the authoritarians have done in the years past, and he's going after his direct political rivals. It's completely partisan. That's what when Biden does get impeached, and he'll get impeached, they'll have impeachment of Biden, just like they had the impeachment of Mayorkas. They'll say, oh, it's not really an impeachment because we didn't impeach. If Republicans impeach, it's not really an impeachment. And so this hubris and arrogance, it's not going to work out in November. People are tired. All you heard from 4 years from Democrats when Trump was in office was, oh my God, he's oh my God, the worst president ever. Oh my God, the sky is falling. We had record low poverty, record highs in household median income. Inflation was very low. Interest rates were very low. You're paying over double the mortgage now. Mortgage rates are 7 to 8%. They were 3% with Trump. And that's why they say, well, inflation is low. No, inflation is only lower than it once was because interest rates went through the roof. And then we had record highs in credit card debt. So the country tried Democrats. We're going back to Trump. A rebuke from the Supreme Court is on its way, by the way. So hit subscribe to this channel, especially be here for when the Supreme Court, because Super Tuesday is March 5th. So they're going to have to, in my mind, before Colorado, before Super Tuesday, come out with the Supreme Court verdict, the decision. So that has to happen, I think, within the next couple of days. And I think it's going to be at least 7-2. But if it's unanimous, oh my God, if it's a unanimous decision, and I think it will be, That will be an historic day in this country, ladies and gentlemen. It will be a complete and utter rebuke of the most apoplectic and hysterical accusation against Trump that he tried to foment a rebellion, which is complete and utter nonsense. You'd have to be an imbecile to think that he tried to overthrow the country. Now they tried to bankrupt him, and then within a week, he gets $10 billion in a deal. All right, let's go ahead. Okay. Let's listen to some things Trump will do when he becomes president. And I mean, it's just a countdown, ladies and gentlemen. I can't wait. I cannot wait. I can't wait till November. You know, I am so looking forward to it. I'll just reiterate again, the past week, Democrats and media were overjoyed that they bankrupted Trump. Within the past couple of days, a $10 billion merger made him billions more than the sneakers that made him millions, which I would have bought, but they sold out. The sneakers are awesome. The gold tennis shoes, the sneakers, they were pretty awesome. And so everything the man, it's funny too because the shtick is that, oh, he's a failed businessman and he's a failed president. He's a very successful, one of the greatest presidents we've ever had, the best in my lifetime. You look at Trump, first president to step foot in North Korea, record low poverty, Abraham Accords, Doha agreement that Biden botched. These are all like legacies. He brought Americans out of Afghanistan, the longest running military conflict and the longest running counterinsurgency conflict in American history. And what's President Obama's lasting legacy? What is it? What is President Obama's, what's Bush? Trump's legacy is undoing Bush's legacy, which was a complete catastrophe in terms of foreign policy. So if you judge Trump by what he accomplished, he's accomplished so much more than Biden or President Obama or Bush. And now he's going to make $10 billion on a deal without even trying. The merger just happened. The SEC, if you can believe this, just allowed the merger to go through for the $10 billion valuation to possibly take place. It'll probably go beyond that, actually. There's no investment advice here. I'm not investing in the stock market. I think the market's going to crash. But I'm just saying he can go ahead and pay the $350+ million in New York very easily now. He already had the money, but he can do so without even feeling it. And anyway, it's going to be overturned on appeal. So, I mean, what have you gained? If you're Democrats today, after this merger, what have you gained? I mean, are you going to have to make up another fraud trial? Because he's not losing. He's still going to be able to pay as any lawyer on the planet with $10 billion. Hit subscribe if you're new.
Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I'm just standing in their way. I'm standing in their way. This is far more than a campaign. This is far more than a campaign. We're all involved in a great political movement, the greatest such movement ever in the history of our country. I mean, there's never been a movement like this, not even close. And now it looks, I mean, if you look at the polls, we're winning every swing state. We're winning states that nobody's even thought about. After years of betrayals of New Hampshire workers, together we ended the NAFTA disaster, the worst trade deal ever made, and replaced it with the brand new USMCA, that's Mexico and Canada, the best trade deal ever made. I appointed nearly 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. We achieved the most secure border in U.S. history. We built over 500 miles of border wall. They like to say, oh, it was less. It's not. It's much more than that. And we got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. So when they say about Mexico, I saw some guy in the debate say, oh, Mexico gave us 28,000 soldiers. Pay for the war, but there was no mechanism for that. You know, sometimes you don't have. I said, you got to give us soldiers. You got to give us. Right now, we have the biggest caravans in history coming up. Right now, they're coming up. I got them to give us free of charge 28,000 soldiers. Now, I didn't tell you. I said to them, if you don't do that, we're going to tariff every product that you sell into the United States at approximately 25%. And they said, we would love to give you those soldiers. On my first day back in the Oval Office, I will terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration. Stop the invasion. I will immediately restore and expand the Trump travel ban on any. The only terror we had. By the way, she's got a wall around her house. Obviously, in that case, it didn't work very well, did it? It didn't work. And I'll implement strong and ideological screenings for all immigrants. And if years ago, Nathan said, we will stop the sexual mutilation of your children. In conclusion, this is what we must do to restore our country to greatness. The USA is a mess. Israel is under attack. Our economy is cratering. Inflation is totally out of control. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea have formed together as a menacing and destructive coalition like probably we've never seen before. Our currency is crashing. I will soon no longer think of it. It's soon going to not be the world standard based on what's happening right now, which will be the greatest defeat. Once our currency is no longer the world standard, that will be the greatest defeat that we've had as a country in 200 years. Then we will revert to third world status. It won't happen with me, not even a little chance, just like Russia would never have.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Hit subscribe to this channel if you're new to this channel. I will be back. I wasn't last night, but I will be back at 10 p.m. Eastern. So I'll be back at 10 p.m. Eastern, and we'll have another live stream, another amazing live stream. This was a huge breakthrough for Trump. They cannot bankrupt him, which means they cannot defeat him. That's the only way they could possibly defeat him. And that's out the window now with the $10 billion from the social media merger the SEC allowed to go through. Hit subscribe right now. See you at 10 p.m. Eastern. Paul Bartlett to my super chat. Thank you so much. Paul, thank you, as always, in Australia.